Very warm welcome to this third debate of the Balkan Trafik Festival. This one is about the environment and the Balkans, how to fight for it, how to fight for more protection. And a warm welcome on behalf of the Balkan Trafik Festival, which is an arts and culture festival, but above everything else, a human connections festival. We try to bring people together, to exchange experience, to listen to each other. My name is Olaf Bruns and my job is to guide you through this next 45 minutes. Now, the Balkans and the environment, it's a bit of a gloomy topic. The Balkans are amongst the regions in Europe that have the highest rate of respiratory diseases, which are pollution linked, and which is of course a topic that is important now in this COVID-19 situation. They are also one of the regions in Europe that is affected most hardly by climate change. There are predictions that the temperature in the Balkanic region might rise to the end of the century by 1.7 to 4 or even 5 degrees. Now, I don't know if you realize what that means, 5 degrees more. That means pretty much that the region becomes uninhabitable for human beings. Now, it's also a topic which bears hope, because there is lots of citizens' initiatives in the Balkans fighting for better protection, fighting for the environment, fighting against climate change. So there's lots of things happening, and that's what we're talking about in this debate. Now, we have again, you see already the picture, a cartoonist working for us during this debate. She is drawing cartoons and during debates, and basically they will come in every now and then during the debate and at the very end of the debate. Now, starting with introducing the speakers. No, not yet. We have a video prepared. Let's see the video.
Hi, my name is Jadranka Lackovic and I am a painter and a mural artist from Croatia. I was born and raised in Rijeka. It's Croatia's biggest harbor, located on the northern coast of Adriatic. I believe that you are already familiar with the fact that plastic has entered every level of seafood chain, and it's even showing up on our plates. I mean, the sea has fed us and kept us alive for centuries, so it's really our time to return the favor and make sure that our oceans and seas are full of life for many, many, many years to come. It's really still not too late. So,
we are in special nature reserve Zasavica, which is situated by the Sava River, which is part of the whole Danube River catchment area. This mosaic of aquatic and wetland ecosystems that you can see here is characteristic landscape for the whole Middle Danube region, which is shared by Serbia and Croatia. This region is home for numerous plant and animal species, especially water birds and fishes. Over the two last centuries, even 80% of different wetlands completely disappeared from the whole Danube River catchment area. From all that reasons, 5 partners from Serbia and Croatia joined forces to develop the project Restoration of Wetlands in the Middle Danube region. The main goal of the project is to improve Middle Danube region wetland ecosystems through integrated management and cross-border and cross-sectoral cooperation. Thanks to the revitalization activities in the field, we will directly contribute to improving conservation status of wetland habitats and wetland biodiversity.
Now, let me introduce the speakers of this debate, but perhaps first one word to the speakers. We have 45 minutes, not even 45 minutes left now, and there's 5 guests, and I'm doing a lot of talking, so I might every now and then interrupt you. And that is not because I like to interrupt you, but that is just basically to give floor to all the others too. So bear with me if I'm doing so. You have already seen Jadranka and Mirjana in the video, so I start with the others. And we have Marko Milutinovic, a lawyer from Serbia, a recent graduate, and also a young European ambassador of the European EU and U program. Welcome, and may I just also already ask you a short question? Could you say in a few words what that is, a young European ambassador?
Yeah, of course. Young European, first of all, hello to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and to be in this debate. European Ambassadors Network. It is a network of 60 passionate young people from our region of Western Balkans who are working on various subjects from environment, human rights, all the way to youth activism, art, and culture. So our goal is to bridge the gap and create bridges between different cultures and work together in ensuring that the youth has a prosperous, happy, and healthy future to look towards.
Thanks a lot, Marco. Moving on to Jean-Pierre Halquin, the head of unit for macro regions at the Directorate General for Regional and Urban Policy of the European Commission, whom I've shamefully forgotten to introduce in the last debate. But you're back again. Here you are. Welcome. And you have already seen in the video Jadranka Lakovic, who is a painter, a mural artist. We come back to that in a second. And Mirjana Bartula, a professor for applied ecology at Belgrade University and a project manager of the European Interreg project of wetland restoration in the Middle Danube. And Mirjana, I want to go back to the video immediately. I was dazzled to see the beauty of these pictures, of these landscapes. And I wanted to ask you, what are the dangers actually these wetlands are facing currently?
Actually, you see the beauty of the landscape and the wetland ecosystem, which is in Special Nature Reserve Zasavica, but is only one small part of the Middle Danube region, which is shared by the two countries, Croatia and Serbia. And the whole countryside and whole ecosystem is very beautiful and very valuable in sense of different natural assets. But they are also faced with numerous factors that endanger the nature. So one of them is changing of water regime, drying out the wetland habitats, and also land use changes. So the natural ecosystems were very often changed into agricultural land or industrial area or urban area. Then water pollution is very big issue when we come to different water ecosystem, river ecosystem, and wetlands ecosystem, and this pollution comes from really different sources from agriculture, from industry, from urban wastewater, which is not treated at the Balkan at all. For example, my hometown is Belgrade. It is 2 million. It has 2 million people, and we do not have water purification system. So the pollution is really big issue. Then invasive species also is the issue which threaten biodiversity and wetland ecosystems. Then inappropriate use of natural resources, for example, overexploitation of fish fauna or ornithofauna of different medicine plant, etc., etc. So there are a lot of issues and threats to this valuable nature.
Mirjana, that is almost an overwhelming list of risks. What to make people get a sense of what you're doing concretely? What are the steps you're busy with currently?
So we within the nature conservation movement of Sremska Mitrovica and partners of the project Wetlands Restore, restoration of wetlands in Middle Danube, we joined forces, different organizations from different sectors. The nature protection is very complex because it needs a cooperation of different sectors and different experts. You can't solve the nature protection problem only by by biologists or for chemists. So that is not possible. So we joined the different experts and different organizations coming from different sectors, from water management sector, from nature protection sector, and also civil sector, which is very, very important from raising environmental awareness. So we developed the project Wetland Restore, and the main aim, as I told in the video, is actually the main focus of the project is to increase capacity of different stakeholders and to increase cross-border cooperation to better manage and to better conserve this area. So what are the main results we already achieved? So our project is also ongoing. We are finishing it in the end of this year. What we did is that we actually developed joint monitoring system for monitoring biodiversity in this region, and this monitoring system is based on indicator species which are common for the Croatia and also from Serbia. And this monitoring system will be used by protected area managers at first place, so they will have they will have a tool that will enable them to monitor biodiversity in a very easy and effective way. And what is very important for cooperation from both sides of the border is that results obtained in this way will be comparable. And after that, we can jointly on valid data make plans for conservation and revitalization.
Yeah, I would like to interrupt you there because I would like to bring Jean-Pierre in directly. Jean-Pierre, where does the European Union come in this kind of project?
Thank you. First of all, I would like to repeat that I'm very pleased to be here today. The Commission is there to provide different elements. First, we provide what we call the political umbrella under which the programs are implemented, meaning that the member states, together with the countries of the Balkans, are agreeing on what are the political priorities, and there preserving the natural capital is now on the top spot. And that's very important, and very pleased with that. And from there, we are putting the tools in order to contribute to those objectives. So I will mention two tools. One is the macro-regional strategy covering the countries of the Balkan and the countries around the Adriatic and Ionian Seas. So 5 countries of the Balkan, 4 member states. And this provides them with a political platform to coordinate what they want to do together. And then we are financing through the Interreg programs the way and the possibility for the stakeholders to cooperate together, so that the person who wants to preserve environment or a specific part of the ecosystem, like a part of a river basin, can work together with their neighbors in order to act together, but also to consolidate the knowledge of the situation, etc., etc. So that's really the role of the Commission, to facilitate this work.
Jean-Pierre, you mentioned the Interreg projects, and in these debates we have spoken about several of these Interreg projects. Would you mind developing a little bit? What are these Interreg projects exactly? How do they function?
Well, the Interreg projects were created in order to facilitate cooperation along the borders within the member states. As often those are areas which are not benefiting from the same level of interest from the headquarters than the rest of Europe, but also they were facing sometimes difficulties. As a worker wanted to work across the border, you could not access healthcare on the other side of the border, and progressively the system of programs that were developed to serve the member states was extended to go on all external borders. So now, including the countries of the Balkans, that's very important. So they provide an opportunity to work across the border to build trust and confidence between EU citizens of the Balkans. That's one aspect. But it's also a way for stakeholders like the one we just heard, and congratulations for what you do, to learn about EU tools, because we know also that the countries of the Balkan are in the process of joining the EU.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to turn to our guest in the studio, which you've already seen in the video, but we have her live here. Jadranka, we heard in the video you're a painter from the Adriatic coast, from Rijeka, but your forename, Jadranka, actually means Adriatic in Croatian,
Yes.
isn't it? And you're busy currently now painting. Now you just have finished actually to paint a huge mural here in Brussels, and I think we do have a video of that mural. Could we just have a look? We see you working on this mural. The pictures are amazing actually, because it's cut in that way. But I would like to, well, people can see what you're doing there. But I would like to see how do you link art and environment? How do these two topics come together in your work?
Well, I didn't plan to talk about environment when I started to paint fish. For me, that came naturally. I was born in Rijeka. It's a city in the North Adriatic, and I lived by the sea all my life. And for me, that's I'm mesmerized by the creatures living in the sea. And that was my. That's how I started to paint them.
So may I just interrupt you? Fish is permanent. It's not just only in this picture. It's a permanent feature of your work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah, especially in the last year or two. So the environment was something that somehow get linked to the work that I do, and for me it's really interesting to see how people react and how they interpret my works.
So what do you get as reactions from people?
Oh, I was so lucky here in Brussels. I had such a warm hospitality from the people. The neighbors love it, and they would approach me every day to tell me, did I know that the St. Catherine's Square is, it was used to be a fish market.
It's the former fish market of Brussels, indeed. Yes.
Yeah, so I had a really great welcome here.
And I mean, this is of course a specific location, the ancient fish market of Brussels. But did people get that this is not about the fish market, but about the environment?
No,
they didn't. It's perhaps just the location.
No, but that's why we have this talk now.
Exactly. Now, how did you said you started painting fish, and how did the environment become a topic in your work? How did you first realize that there is actually something wrong?
Yeah, I think that for me the environment topic is really personal, because when I was still in Art Academy, every summer we'll be in as a part of one project, we would be cleaning beaches on one island in Croatia. And when I first saw the amount of trash you have on our beaches, and I think the problem in Croatia is that we are lucky enough that we have such a beautiful country who are very rich with sea life and natural beauties. But the problem is that people think that just because we have this richness now, that it will be like lasting forever, and it will be not. I mean, you can already see the changes everywhere. Is it in the fish life, like in the sea or the woods? So,
if you look back a few years, would you say that consciousness about environmental threats is something that is raising, even if it's not yet ideal, but it's something that is like getting a foothold in the population, or is this totally off people's minds?
I think the problem is not with the young people. The kids get it.
Yeah.
I mean, they get it.
I mean, kids are the ones who have to live with a mess.
Yes, yes. But I think what I can see that the problem is the older people, especially with the garbage. They still have like that feeling that if you throw something away, that will somehow magically disappear, and it will not. And I think we will have to educate older citizens to explain them the real danger if we continue to do this kind of stuff to our nature. It's not going to be good.
I love this, what you're saying, because when one speaks about educating people, it's always about the younger ones. It's basically always the older ones educating the younger ones, because the older ones know and the younger ones have to learn. But what you're saying is that we have basically, it's the young ones who have to educate the older ones, because the young ones have gotten the problem. I would like to ask one a bit provocative question, but well, you answer as you want to. Can art save the planet?
Oh my God. I think I'm maybe overly optimistic, but I don't think it can save, but it can do a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too, actually.
Yeah.
I think art is there to open the minds, open perception, change perception every now and then. Marco, yes, I can see you back. What's your engagement for the environment? Where do you come in?
Well, basically, you know, the youth is one of the most important aspects in preserving our environment, because our generations, like the newer generations, are one of the most active generations ever, and we are fully committed to influence change, because we want to live in, we want to have a future in which we can breathe fresh
Marco,
air.
if I may interrupt you, excuse me, Marco.
Yeah.
Your sound is getting a little bit difficult to understand, but maybe instead of reconnecting, if you just speak a little bit louder, perhaps we can get it.
Yeah, sorry, can you hear me now? Is it better?
Let's give it a try. Your personal commitment to the environment, Marco, and speaking loud.
Yeah, sorry. So when it comes to personal commitment, I'm really involved in the fight for like saving our air, because we have huge trouble here in Western Balkans with air pollution. If I could just tell you one piece of information, for example, 16 coal-fired thermal power plants in the Western Balkans emit more sulfur dioxide than 250 such plants in the European Union. So you can see how big of a problem this is. And we are actually having a lot of people, a lot of young people, a lot of people from every generation coming together and pressuring the decision makers in order for them to implement needed changes and to force these companies and their factories to actually follow the regulations, which will help us have clean air in our cities. Because Belgrade, for example, has one of the most polluted air in the world. So you can see how problematic this is. And people don't seem to understand. There's that lack of education that Jadranka was talking about, that they don't understand that when they breathe polluted air, it isn't just smelly, or however you want to call it. It provokes a lot of serious diseases. And there is a huge lack of awareness around that topic here.
Now, Marco, if I'm correctly informed, you have also been working on the legal aspect of that. Could you just expand on that?
Yeah, so for a certain amount of time, I was a member of a legal clinic for environmental law at my faculty, which aimed to basically give free legal advice in terms of what people can do and how can they act against all of these environmental problems, because environmental issues are human rights problems also. And we need to change our system, because if you go to court and take on one of these big factories here, or big companies, whatever you want to call them, you can end up losing everything. I mean, the costs of the trials are enormous, as opposed to European Union, where you have lesser costs for environmental issues and trials involving that aspect, because that is a crucial aspect of human life. So we need to change. Those aspects of trial costs. But also, I have to say that in Serbia, I won't speak to the other countries. Mostly, when we create new laws, those laws are good. But the problem is the implementation of the laws, because the laws are really, really good on paper, and they are really beneficial on paper. But you don't have
Marco, you're frozen. You're frozen, so I cut you. I will bring Jean-Pierre back in. We're just on the topic of law implementation. I mean, there's one side, of course, which is conceiving laws, writing them down, but the implementation of laws, and that's something which is, of course, not only a problem in the Balkans, it's basically a universal problem, and on the environment particularly, also true inside the European Union. But where does the European Union come in on this particular aspect? Is there something you feel you can do?
Yes, certainly. I think that one of the biggest success of the European Union is certainly on the environmental side, and it is the way we've been working in order to improve the management of the natural resources, being water, being also air pollution, within the European Union. And that's something I believe it's really a success, because there are some aspects that can be done within each member state. But whenever we spoke about water management, in particular river basin management, this is something that requires cooperation among member states. So the Commission has a role, which is to propose the regulation, which are then adopted and implemented by the member states. But we are also helping the member states to get the know-how and also to get the capacity to have the experience in order to make sure that those laws are reflecting the best of the science, and proposing also the best solutions. Now, regarding the countries of the Balkans, certainly we are there to inspire their legal framework. This is part of the acquis communautaire, so that not only they will have the good laws, but the good laws will be well implemented. And we know that this is a challenge, because it has not only a political dimension, but it is also an economical cost. Something I would like to say about environment, and I will be very short, be sure, is that we spoke about the impact of the management of natural resources for the human being. It's very important. For sure, air pollution has a direct impact on your health. But we need also to take the potential that managing together the natural resources has on building trust and confidence among the countries of the Balkans. We see it, we saw it in the European Union, and we see it also whenever the countries want to team up together. That's managing natural resources is a wonder way to really develop a very strong cooperation. At the same time, failing to do so is also triggering tension. And we've seen example on the way mismanagement of natural resources may trigger tension, and I will take one that occurred outside of Europe, which is the Darfur War, which was really a competition for water and also a refusal to cooperate on managing natural resources. So certainly we're invited to pay a lot of attention, because it has positive impact, but we also know that failing to do so has negative consequences.
Well, there's work on our plate, definitely. Now, Mirjana, I would like to ask you, both Jadranka and Marko have spoken about this aspect of education, and education comes back in this debate. I was wondering if your project has a part of education, or how do you actually, well, make citizens aware of what you're doing?
Education
Yeah,
increasing.
you're back.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
couldn't hear the first
Increasing.
sentence, but so just start again.
Again, important part of our project is also education and awareness raising. As part of the capacity building activities, we organize a lot of events and a lot of workshops and trainings. And unfortunately, in last year, we did it online through Zoom and Google Meet. But in the first half of the implementation of the project, we did it personally. So the meeting with the people is very important, but also the increasing awareness of wide public. It's extremely important, and Marko point out that it is important that all inhabitants, all citizens are aware that this type of ecosystem is worth, and it is important for them to know why they are important for preserving, why one wetland should be preserved, why it's important to one rare species. So it is important to communicate to them that these ecosystems and generally nature deliver a lot of services to human beings, which are in many cases for free. For example, they're cleaning air, they produce oxygen, they're cleaning water, they help us prevent some extreme drought and floods, etc., etc. So that is important to communicate to people, and we did it through a really strong media campaign. Part of the campaign was through social media, and we developed a lot of awareness raising material which could be available online. So the very, very important part of every project should be awareness raising. And what I would like only to add something which Marko pointed out, that people are not aware that they are breathing unhealthy air. I think they are aware that they are breathing unhealthy air, but they are not aware that they can make changes, that they can put pressure on government and to change things, because they are not aware that by the law they have rights to ask for information, to put pressure on polluters, to clean the water, waste air, and everything. So very important is for the people to know that they have legal rights, that there is a national legislation, there is Aarhus Convention. So all that is very, very strong tool for making change in environment on better.
And informing people about their rights is, of course, another aspect of the education Jadranka mentioned earlier already, which is not only getting an idea of the problems, but also getting an idea of what you can actually do about them. Now, I would like to shift this point of what people realize a little bit. You were saying people, well, basically in Croatia, everybody who's seen the Croatian coast knows that this is one of the most beautiful areas in Europe, most certainly, and people just take it for granted and don't realize how much this can be under threat. So my question would be, isn't that also because the beauty of the landscape is concrete, it is there, you can see it, you can touch it. The threat is abstract. Mm-hmm. And is that difficulty of perceiving or understanding an abstract threat also something where art can play a role?
I mean, yes, certainly.
Yeah, it's an abstract one.
There is so many ways in which I would like to answer to this question, and I'm searching in which direction to go. Yeah, I mean, art is a very good way to include people in some topic, yeah. And I don't know. Sorry.
Okay, no, don't worry.
It's a very tough one.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Forgive me for that.
No,
I
it's
try
okay.
to make it easier.
Yeah.
If you're on a wall in Rijeka, for example,
yes.
painting a mural,
mm-hmm.
and people don't associate that place with an ancient fish market,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what kind of conversations do you have with the people around? Are you interrupting your work every now and then to
Yeah.
speak to them?
Yeah, and it's completely different when you are painting outside on the street in Balkan countries and when you are painting here. And for me, this was like the biggest shock in a positive way. If you are painting something, for example, when I'm painting in Croatia, usually people approach you to ask you, do you have permission? Why are you drawing or on the wall and everything? And here in Brussels, for me, it was like a really positive shock that people came to say thank you, congratulate. They were very interesting in the process of making the mural.
But sometimes when you have these conversations in Croatia, do you manage to raise the environmental issue with people?
I mean, the problem is the people, the one who already are aware of the problem, they are already aware of that. And it's very hard to explain. If somebody doesn't want to listen, it's very hard to explain something to them. But for me, I really want to believe that the new generation, which is coming, they will be able to do a change.
And also put political pressure on
Yeah,
the government,
yeah.
of course. Marco, going back to you, because you've spoken about another quite abstract threat, although you can feel it in your lungs, of course, when you breathe polluted air. But my question would be, do you face this difficulty of explaining something which might seem abstract because it's well, you can't just immediately see the cancer or whatever it causes in your lungs, and how do you approach this difficulty?
Well, I have to tell you one thing.
Yes, you're back.
I have to tell you one thing. We need to stop looking at people who aren't agreeing with us as somebody who we shouldn't be talking to and who we should be like not in communication with. Because if we want to influence real change, we need to get outside of our bubble. And it is good to talk with everyone who is agreeing with us, like we're talking today. But the biggest change is going to occur when you go to the people who, for example, don't think that it's a big issue, and talk to them for hours, and then explain to them why it is a problem and have that discussion. Because if you turn one person who was not believing that this is an issue into a supporter of the environmental movement, it's a really, really good day, and it's a really, really important thing to do. So what I would say is that we really need to approach these people, and not in a condescending way, because they don't know the problems, they don't understand the problems. You really need to be friendly in your approach and try to explain it to them and tell them that together we can change this for the better, and unity in this is really, really important. And I also believe that everybody understands that having more trees is better than having concrete pavements. And in that aspect, we really need to be nice and not condescending, and give our best to explain the issue to them.
Marco, I couldn't agree more. I'm just curious. How do you get out of your bubble? Because we spoke in a previous debate already about our information bubbles we're in, and what do you concretely do to break down these walls of your own bubble and to get out to speak to other people?
Honestly, I think the most important thing you have to be prepared to do is to fail, and that's really important. Because people won't agree with you. You need to go through the city, put stands in the city, talk to people who are passing by and ask them about their opinion. And if they disagree, ask them for a couple of minutes to explain why it's important. You need to reach out to people who you do not know, people who aren't in your sphere of friends, family, or acquaintances. You go to universities, you hold get-togethers, you get people there. I mean, there are going to mostly be young people who are going to agree, but you have to really travel through country and do it on your own. Like, just approach people, create pamphlets, approach people, ask them, hey, I'm doing this and I want to have a better quality air. Do you agree? Do you want to help me? There are organizations, civil society, who is really working on this. You can create so much things here, but again, we really need a mass campaign here through all of the networks, because that's also one way to approach people who are maybe older and who don't necessarily agree with it, through communication, examples, and support, because that's the only way you're going to get people on your side.
Now, time is already running out, Marko. I think I take this as the concluding word of our debate, really a call to reach out, get the message out, and very importantly, not in a condescending way, in a humble way, but get the message out. Now, as I said in the beginning, we have our cartoonist, and you have seen the drawings every now and then. So this is a bit of a best of she has made out of this debate. And I would like to express my biggest thank you to all participants, and thank you for sharing your experiences, sharing the examples you're working on, and to get a little bit of a, of course, short debate going. It is not all over now. In 45 minutes there is the next debate, and that one is about inclusion. And these debates are supported by the European Union, but it's not only going further with the debates, also the whole Balkan Trafik Festival is online, so make sure you go to balkantrafik.com, you download the app and so on, and just listen to the music and get the message out.